Where the sun rises over the Breda River lies the full-title, low-density Bredasigt estate, offering the best of tranquil country and coastal living. This truly is a fantastic investment, retirement, or holiday opportunity. General dealers cater for all your daily requirements, be it fishing gear, printed media, groceries, or a quick stop for ice cream. Come and enjoy the kilometers of pristine sandy beaches, or gaze across the ocean at the majestic southern right whales frolicking in the bay. Take a sunset cruise up the Breda River and marvel at the scenic beauty and the abundance of bird life. River or sea cruises and fishing charters are readily available, with great fishing spots up to 35 kilometers upstream. Return to the harbour with your catch of the day, or enjoy a meal at one of the 5 local restaurants where you can toast to another magnificent day in paradise.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining our webinar tonight. My name is Charl van Niekerk, and I will be your host for the evening on this webinar. So I see that there's already a lot of attendees that is joining in. I think load shedding is also halting a lot of people to actually get home to be able to watch the webinar, or still sitting in traffic, hopefully not. Or having load shedding at home and they're not able to watch this. But we are going to have a couple of late joiners, I'm sure, but we will be posting everything after the webinar as well. So the recording of the webinar will be available, and we will be sharing it to everybody who has attended the webinar, as well as you've registered for the webinar and weren't able to attend it. So don't stress, you will be able to see it. Not a problem at all. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's webinar is all about investing, coastal property, balance, work, life, all those type of things. So we will be covering a couple of contents. It's not going to be very long. We're talking about half an hour to 40 minutes. I don't think everybody has seen the pre-video, but this webinar has been sponsored by Bredasigt Estate in Witstrand, and we thank the ladies and gentlemen there from Bredasigt Estate and Central Developments Property Group, who is the proud developer of Bredasigt Estate. So part and parcel of this webinar tonight will not only be on an educational side. We will cover a lot of topics about the benefits of investing in coastal property, the migration side of it. We're going to have an example a bit later on, which is an actual example of what you can expect when looking into coastal property. And we are going to be looking at what does it mean investing in coastal property and in a work-life balance. So I see we've got a lot of people from actually all over Gauteng as well as South Africa. Wow, we've got everybody from the Western Cape. I see a lot of KZN people. Jeffrey, hi, nice to see you again as well. So ladies and gentlemen, those of you who have missed our previous webinars as well, where we were talking about property investment in general, when we were talking about retirement village options, life rights versus full ownership retirement estates, the advantages of retiring in upmarket sectional title retirement estates. So there's quite a few webinars that we've already done in the past, and we will be posting the link in the chat box below as well, where you can please follow that link. Please subscribe to our channel so that you are also notified in the future of our webinars, and also our shorter Q&A type of videos, educational videos, and all of the different type of topics, everything about property. So very interesting. Be sure to check that out and subscribe to the channel for the future balance. So let's have a look and see, and let's start off with, ladies and gentlemen, and going to what the definition is all around the work-life balance scenario. So the key word here is balance. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the saying that all work and no play makes Jack a very dull boy. And nowadays, it's even more important to have that balance in your life. I think COVID has shown a lot of us a different pathway on how things can be done. Working from home has never been a reality before as it is now. And I think with that in mind, a lot of people have achieved a much better balance in their work-life scenario. So we typically say that a work-life balance is ultimately the goal we all dream of. All right, we just need to find that balance. We need to find, is working from home, spending time at home more with the kids and the family, being there less on the road, saving money on travel, is that the sort of balance that we're looking at? Is it spending a bit of time at the office and a bit of time at home? And will this potential webinar tonight maybe give you the idea of how this work-life balance can be continued on a coastal property side and how it can actually benefit you and potentially pay for your own holiday accommodation. So once again, even a bit more of a money saver. So automatically people will think coastal property expensive, I cannot do that, etc. If you are a property enthusiast, if you're a property investor, if you've got your own property, then this is no different. And you'll see later on in the presentation, ladies and gentlemen, why we say so. So how you make your money and what you do with it is often the key on how you achieve that balance. And I think the outdoors, what we say, the open spaces, the beautiful landscapes, the sound of nature, getting out of your environment, basically. And that is what we all do. That's what we all strive for. So when we work hard throughout the year and putting in the efforts, and we take our well-deserved December break or mid-year school holiday breaks or whatever the case might be, we are changing the scenery. We are changing our environment. We would like to go on holiday where it is a bit of a different surrounding so that you can balance that relaxation between work and relaxation with the family. And this is exactly what the purpose is going to be of this webinar tonight, to try and illustrate to you what that balance and that in the work-life situation can be. All right. So let's just start with the basics. So I've been a property investor and involved with property for the past 15 years. And I always believe that you must mix up your portfolio. You should have a variety in your portfolio. Investing in one property, yes, technically makes you a property investor, but it's like earning your first R1 million doesn't make you a millionaire. So you should have a portfolio. And when you are a property investor, you want to mix it up between the different types of properties. You want to mix it up in maybe different regions. You want to maybe mix it up in terms of different geographical or different demographical approaches. So this coastal property investment is going to be an opportunity for you to look at that diversification in your property portfolio as well. Okay, so what is a property investment? Ultimately, it's to earn a return. You purchase your property, you want to earn a return on it. There's a monthly net rental return after your deductions. When you buy it cash, your money still performs better than money just in the bank. So through rental income and resale value of the property, you want to achieve that sort of returns, capital growth. It can be a long-term, can be a short-term investment. So in that instance, we refer to what is your strategy? So is it a buy-to-let strategy? Are you buying it outright, putting a tenant in there, managing it yourself, getting somebody that knows property to manage it for you? Is it part of your pension plan? Purely, do you want to build up a portfolio to say, right, within 10 years time or 15 or 20 years, the earlier you start, obviously, the better. But is this going to be my pension plan one day? Is that income going to set me up for a quality retirement? And is this then going to be my business going forward? So a lot of investors build up the portfolio while they're still working, mixing up the portfolio. And in the retirement space, even when you invest in retirement estates, that property can even double up to be your retirement property one day, not only your pension plan. So if you decide to build a portfolio, you can then manage your portfolio going forward when you retire, and that will be keeping you busy, keeping your mind sharp. So investors also do flip properties. You buy, you renovate, you sell for a profit, and that is in a bit of a short to medium term period. But it's flip properties are also not just buying older properties, renovating them. You can do flip properties when you are buying early in the development stage, selling at the last phases, or giving it a year or two's time, let the market grow a bit and you can sell. And if you do your calculations, you'll see that you've done an excellent flip and it hasn't cost you a lot of money, especially when you buy from a developer, when all costs are included right from the beginning. So less money out of pocket means more money in your pocket by the time that you sell. So in a nutshell, property investment is what it is all about. Now, looking at investing in coastal property specifically. So as part and parcel, as I said, diversify your property portfolio. Most property investors only invest in property where it is in metropolitan areas, highly developed areas, maybe already where the workforce is. So your tenant wants to live closer to work, and that is ideal for the rental market. That is effectively where most investors see the opportunity to build a portfolio the quickest. But now you can add holiday accommodation to the mix, coastal property. So you can own your own holiday accommodation. And we're going to talk about how your coastal property can be a destination for you certain times of the year, renting it out. So to get a year-round income from local tenants or local holiday goers, interprovincial. Gauteng people like to visit the coast, Bloemfontein, all the different regions often like to go to the coastal property, and that's where your investment opportunity lies. So holiday rentals, Airbnb, there are so many different platforms online nowadays. And I'm sure that you who are listening to the webinar can attest to it, that when you want to look for holiday accommodation, you jump onto Airbnb or holiday.com or any of those type of platforms, and you go and look for holiday accommodation, most likely at the coast or in the bushveld or wherever you like to spend your time. So you can capitalize on the constant demand for family holiday accommodation, always. And I think this is where a big difference is going to be as well. What Breda specifically want to highlight in this webinar, and at the end when you guys will see what they have on offer, is the fact that this is more of a holiday home. This is not just apartment rentals. This is not that type of coastal property where you wouldn't necessarily go to. You would like something a bit more for the family and the kids, and freestanding and private and secure and all those type of things. So different holiday accommodations as well. So investing early into holiday accommodation means that you can pay off your retirement holiday destination. So if you want to retire someday somewhere at the coast, this could be an ideal opportunity. Buy early into coastal property if you would like to retire there one day. Buy early into coastal property if you would like to go on holiday there annually, or on the retirement side, or with the kids. And the big secret here, the ideal recipe for coastal property, is to find that hidden gem where the demand where the demand is high, the opportunity is affordable, and the supply is very limited. Okay, that's the ideal recipe. I'm going to say it again. So hidden gems, small towns, tucked away, beautiful scenery, those type of things, the sunset, which everything is made of, those are the hidden gems. The demand is high because of all those opportunities, and the supply is very limited. So there isn't a lot of those accommodation out there. There isn't a lot of options that you can choose from, essentially. And that is what's going to make the investment side of this property very, very ideal. Okay, so if we go then and we look at the work-life balance concept about coastal property. So working from home is one of those opportunities. So a lot of people actually realize that with COVID, working from home, they don't need to be in the big CBDs anymore. They don't need to be part of the hustle and bustle. They can actually buy a property on a coastal side, which gives them a better life, and they can work from there. All you need is internet. All you need is, it's very little. Then you get the semi-migration side of it as well, where you can spend certain time away from the office or certain time even away from home and work from your ideal coastal type of property. So working online, it allowed a lot of people to settle into smaller towns, bigger settlements, which offers the best work-life balance. So less time and money that you spend on traveling. It's a more relaxed and tranquil working environment. And I'm sure that if you have the opportunity to be able to buy a coastal property, live there, wake up in the morning, smell the ocean breeze, and sit there with your laptop and working in a much more peaceful, stressless environment, I'm sure that everybody aspires to that sort of work-life combination. It doubles up with family breakaways. So as we mentioned earlier, it can typically be your second home, a second property, a property that you do holiday rentals throughout the year. 2 or 3 times a year, you might break away to that side so that you can spend some quality time. And once again, it will show you that if you do it in that sort of scenario, you will be able to almost have a free holiday breakaway accommodation. If you do it right throughout the year, you can do it the right way without having to pay for very expensive holidays and breakaways. So as an example, a very interesting fact, the semigration to the Western Cape, specifically over the past couple of years, was really contributed to the quality lifestyle that the Western Cape effectively offers. The lower crime rates, the tranquility, the peacefulness, everything they say, the beautiful landscapes, like in Witstrand as well, and we'll talk about that, the fynbos which is out there, the fisherman's paradise, everything that the Western Cape and the garden route and everything actually has on offer contributed to a very high migration figure to the Western Cape. And then a very important factor is the better run municipalities and the infrastructure that the Western Cape actually offers. So the one thing that you don't want to do is invest money in property or invest anywhere for that matter if infrastructure is not run and maintained well, when the municipalities are a constant problem. So having that as a positive factor of where you want to buy is a huge benefit in the long run as well. So continuing on this, then we can talk about the holiday home. So from family getaways to tourism income, so the holiday rentals that we spoke about, a coastal home can and still is a solid investment, specifically because South Africa is actually one of the most affordable international holiday destinations for foreigners to come to. It's a beautiful country, the Big Five, all the attributes that our coastal properties actually has to offer still remains that South African tourism is very resilient, and makes that a very desired holiday destination. So if you manage your rental investment correctly, you could finance your own annual holidays. Okay, so does that make sense? You can have a free holiday. So think for a moment on what are you spending every year on your holiday accommodation, even if it's once a year. If you are only able to break away to the coast with the kids and the family for once a year, let's call it in December, and you book in the peak season a 2-week holiday somewhere nice. Think about what that cost is. Your traveling cost, your accommodation, your meals, your spending money, all those type of things. Think about what that adds up to. And I'm sure that in your mind, if I could read people's mind, I will hear the figures 30, 40, 50,000 Rand for a decent getaway holiday once a year. So this, ladies and gentlemen, will give you the opportunity, think about it, investigate this opportunity, because this could be an outcome for a free paid up type of holiday throughout the year. All right. Now let's look at the principles of buying a sound investment. All right, let me just wet the throat there a bit. All right. So principles of buying a sound investment. Once again, all this investment talk is only about property. So a historical record of property growth and the demand in the area. So no matter where you want to buy the property, if it is in KZN, if it is in the Cape region, wherever you would like to buy this sort of coastal property, look at what the historical record is of the property growth, of the demand in the area. What sort of international attraction does the area offer, the holiday accommodations? What are the rates, and what is the surroundings? Because that is all part and parcel of the sound investment. The location criteria. So this differs from investing in the metropolitan areas to the coastal properties drastically. So if you think about it, and normal 9 out of 10 property investors will buy a property in the metropolitan areas, as I said earlier, because of the fact that you've got a high demand of tenants looking for smaller accommodation, closer to work, affordable, closer to public transport, or whatever the case might be. So it's not unique necessarily, and there's a high demand as well as a high supply. If you're looking at Joburg, if you're looking at Pretoria, for argument's sake, the big metropolitan areas, there will always be a high demand and there will always be a high supply. So when you're investing, the criteria for that location to the coastal property will differ. That would not necessarily mean when you're at the coastal side that you're looking for a high tenant demand. You are rather then looking there for the holiday rental goers. You're looking for the international market. You're looking for the interprovincial visitors. So your criteria will definitely differ. So look at areas where the property scarcity can't be easily replicated. All right. So a very ideal product, and I will show you that now, and we'll talk about that when it comes to Bredderzicht per se, but it's a very good quality to look at. The direction of the views of the property. Is it an ocean view? Is it a mountain view? Is it, if it's in the metropolitan areas, the locality criteria will also differ, once again. So what is the direction of the views of the property? Buy with a medium to long-term hold in mind. So coastal property is not necessarily flips. Coastal property, to get the best benefit out of it on all the different levels, is to buy a coastal property with a medium to long-term view in mind. Buying a bit further away from the cities actually increases the real estate value, because people want to get away from the hustle and bustle. You don't want to feel the same when you are at a coastal property than what you are in the metropolitan area. So buying further away increases that sound investment value. Buy in areas which is well run, financially sound municipalities, we covered that, and especially for the dual purpose of holiday rentals, tourist attractions, the unique offering is very important. So think about yourself as well. When you go on holiday at the coast, what do you like to do? Do you like to go down and cycle in the beautiful parkland areas? Do you like to jog around along the coastline? Do you enjoy kite surfing? Do you enjoy deep sea fishing? Do you enjoy everything that this coastal property is supposed to offer you? And those are important things to look at when you are deciding on a locality. So the more attractions there are and the more unique offerings there are in and around that area where you're buying a coastal property, the more reason it is for people to actually visit that area and increase your property. All right. So key lessons to ease the stress of investing in coastal properties. So a lot of people think, as I said in the beginning, for those of you who've missed it, when people hear coastal property, it's already something that they think it can only be for leisure. You know, I won't be able to afford it. Coastal property is expensive. If you can see the ocean, it's probably the most expensive commodity in South Africa. Water in front of you, whether you can see it, then it's expensive. And that is not necessarily true. But you have to look at a few things. And if you know what those things are to look at, it's like mitigating the risk. And that's a big thing when it comes to property investment. So if you take R1 million for argument's sake and you invest it into shares, or you invest it into cryptocurrency, or you invest it into whatever other channels than property, you cannot always mitigate the risk. You cannot control the risk, because those risks and those returns are often controlled by micro and macroeconomical environments. And we've seen it now with what is happening in the world between Russia and Ukraine, how it affects a lot of things. So if you've invested money somewhere, you can either do good or you won't do as well. But with property, again, you know what the risks are and you are able to mitigate that. So part of those lessons, it doesn't differ investing into coastal property. So make sure that you have a clear budget. You know what the expenses are. You know what you will be out of pocket should the property not be occupied by holiday accommodation, for argument's sake. Have a clear budget there. All the costs that are involved, the levies, the expenses, know what those costs are. So before you buy, know what is your strategy as well. So are you buying this property as an investment for your own use permanently? Are you happy with the property standing empty until you want to use it because you're going to use it more frequently? Are you doing this as a short or long-term rentals? Would you like people permanently in your property? Would you like them on a short-term rental basis only until you are able to use the property? And remember to budget then for the furnishing. So coastal property, if you want to do any sort of holiday letting, it has to be furnished. So however you budget for that furniture, if you decide to maybe overfinance it slightly to furnish your place, whether you have got money set aside to do the furnishings, remember that you need to budget for a nice furnished apartment, a furnished house, holiday accommodation. So if you're doing this for the first time, I would recommend that it is very important to take a trip down. You know, if you are from Gauteng, for argument's sake, looking to buy coastal property, take a trip down, make a weekend of it, go down to the property, the area, speak to the agents there, speak to the permanent residents in the area, get a feel for what the area is all about, get a feel for the pricing out there, get a feel for the amenities that are there, the attractions, all those type of things. And that is if you don't know the area that well altogether. So, I mean, if you're an annual visitor for the past 10 years in Hermanus or in Umhlanga or wherever you would like to go on holiday, and you know it like the back of your hand, obviously you've got less research really to do with regards to that area. But if it's your first time, take a trip, speak to the guys, speak to the agents, get your mind around it so that you can make a more informed decision. There's always good bond originators. Bredersburg Central Developments, ourselves, in-house bond originators, that we make it a seamless process for any of our buyers and investors. And when you're buying in an estate, ensure that short-term rentals are actually allowed. So a very important fact, not everywhere does the estate necessarily allow short-term rentals, or if they do allow short-term rentals, make sure what the terms and conditions are, make sure what is required from you as the owner or the managing agent who might be assisting you with the holiday rentals. Just make sure that the short-term rentals are allowed. So to take an example, you know, new developments in like KZN came up, apartments, beautiful, everything is ideal, but essentially short-term rentals was allowed in the beginning, and later on it fell away because it became a security risk, because it became a situation where short-term holiday tenants were misbehaving or taking over the estate and all those type of things. So they decided to can it. So make sure that whatever you buy into, it will be allowed, and why is it allowed, and what is allowed. Is pets allowed? You know, pets, I think, is a big thing for most people, where they would like to go on a holiday, they take their pets along, small dog or two dogs go along. So if your property is pet friendly, that could even be something as an added benefit to your coastal property that you have. Use an experienced agency or agent for that matter. If you decide to buy in there, see who is going to manage your property. Is it an agency? Is it a specific agent? How long have they been in the area? How many of these rentals are they doing? How good are they? You know, so use an experienced agency or agent that specializes specifically in holiday rentals in that area. Okay, so just to sum it up a bit, the benefits then of buying or considering a coastal property investment, it's that additional income. Like any sort of property investment, your income can just be a lot more significant in a coastal property because it is based on peak seasons, off-peak seasons, daily rates, all those type of things. The dual purpose of being able to use it yourself when you would like to use it. It's an ideal joint investment. So I just want to spend 1 minute on the joint investment scenario. So as a property investor, you do not always have to only be able to buy the property on your own. Much more affordable properties in the metropolitan areas, if you're building a portfolio, the 700, 800,000 Rand properties, much easier property to finance on your own if you're buying that, much easier way to acquire multiple properties, to build up your portfolio, etc. But when you want to invest into something that gives you a bit of a better capital growth, a higher return because of the bigger demand, the nicheness of the market, the attraction that it brings for international rentals, those type of things, look at the option of a joint investment. And coastal property is actually ideal for that joint investment opportunity. Two friends, family, colleagues, whatever. This could be a business opportunity for a joint investment. If a family purchases it together, or two friends, two families purchasing it together, the property can at least then be utilized as well on a much more frequent basis. So it gives you that opportunity with a joint investment to share the risk, share the expenses, share in the income, and effectively, you know, joy in the profit sharing in the future if you decide to sell the property as well. Property still remains a manageable investment. So that's a big benefit when it comes to investing your money. Property is a manageable investment. Capital growth. Coastal property, I think if you can get coastal property in the 2 million, between 2 and 2.5 million Rand price bracket, which is on the coastal borders, even a house, even better, a very significant property, your capital growth in the future is going to be astronomical. I think there's going to be a very big scarcity for proper family home coastal properties in the near future, as construction costs and the ripple effect of what we are experiencing now in the future is actually going to be. So whatever you can get into now is probably the best time. It's a tangible asset. All right, I think that's very self-explanatory. And then the tax deduction. So if it is a second property, if it's your second home, if it's an investment, there are always tax deductions that you can use. If you're not buying it cash, then you will always be able to benefit from the tax deduction on the interest on your bonds. Any maintenance that is done in the future, any additions that you do to the property, all those type of expenses, you will always have a benefit in tax deductions when it comes to an investment property. Okay, so I want to show you a scenario, and this is an actual scenario, ladies and gentlemen, which was graciously given to me by Brederzicht Estate as one of the developing estates in Witstrand. So this is your scenario. Actual property, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom holiday home. It's a freestanding simplex house. It's not an apartment, it's a 6-sleeper. Depends on how you furnish it. You can furnish it as probably as an 8-sleeper as well if you wanted to. The purchase price currently 2.3 million, all costs included. So if you bought this property for 2.3 million, put down a 10% deposit if you don't buy it cash, and you finance the balance over an assumption of 20 years, current interest rate of 8.25%. And when you do put down a 10% deposit and you're a credit-worthy client and the banks are willing to finance you, then you will definitely be able to probably qualify for prime minus 0.5 or even prime minus 1. It all depends. But so we're taking a bit more of a worst case scenario here, just to give you a scenario. So prime interest rate 8.25 over 20 years. Your bond repayment is 17,600 Rand a month. Currently at Brederzicht on this specific property, you're looking at an HOA levy of 350 Rand because it is full title. So the benefit is you can even add on to the property. Later in life, you can increase on the size of the property. If it's a single story now, you can submit plans in the future and make it a double story. That's the beauty of this, in my opinion. Municipal rates and taxes, consumer consumption costs like water and electricity, all those type of things, adds up to about 2,400 Rand. Gardening fees so that the garden is maintained while you are not there, 300 Rand a month. So that brings your total expenses to just over 20,000 Rand. Now, the scenario here and actual figures is, let's say you tenant the property for only half a month. So 15 days of the month, your property is being occupied during off-peak rates at 1,500 Rand per night for a 6-sleeper. I think it's a giveaway. But if you tenant it for 1,500 Rand a month for 15 days, you will be looking at an income of 22,500 Rand. So you can already see that your income supersedes those expenses that you have. And that brings me back to the initial point, ladies and gentlemen, where I said that if you manage this thing correctly throughout the year, you've got 3 free holiday accommodation. You do not have to fork out that 30, 40, 50,000 Rand a year if you want to take well-deserved breakaways to the coast. You have got a holiday home. It's paying for itself and it's giving you something extra. And remember, peak seasons, it's always a good idea not to go and, stay in your property for the whole peak season. Because peak seasons, you could easily add a much higher premium rate to your daily rates in those properties. So capitalize on that, or decide 1 year I'm not going to do peak season, the other peak season I want to utilize it. Work out something, because that is easy to do. And that's why I speak to the agents, speak to the guys in the area. They will help you manage this property. So I hope this is a very easy example. And at the end of the webinar, we will also be posting a link for you on how you can specifically get in touch with Anthea Leclerc on Brederzicht itself. She will be able to answer any questions you have. She will be able to give you pointers, tips, discuss all those type of things with you about Brederzicht, so that you can have a first-hand experience. And for all of you that's on the webinar, we have something special for you as well at Brederzicht. But we will tell you about that in a short moment. So let me quickly tell you about Witstrand. So Witstrand, one of those hidden gems, we spoke about that. That's where you want to buy property, the hidden gem of the Garden Route. That is in Witstrand. It's a peaceful village on the banks of the famous Breda River, the Breda River that offers an amazing experience up the river, hiring a boat, taking one of the charters, going up the river, stopping at the different restaurants along the riverside, having a sundowner. It's an amazing experience. It's a nature lover's paradise, the fynbos that you find there. It is really something spectacular. So it's away from the largest cities, but close enough for the necessary amenities. It's really, in terms of locality, you're going to struggle to find better. Excellent investment value. I think you can see for yourself at those sort of prices what they offer. It is a great future investment. And it offers a host of outdoor activities. So specifically in Witstrand, boating, kite surfing, hiking, mountain biking, whale watching, all those type of things are an extremely big attraction in Witstrand. So everybody always thinks that Hermanus is the only place where you can do whale watching. Well, I can tell you, I've seen better whale watching opportunities in Witstrand than anywhere else in certain times of the year. Fisherman's paradise. If you go into the Breda River Lodge and you look at all the photographs there of the fish that has been caught and the tiger sharks and all those type of things in the Breda River itself, people come from far and wide to come and fish in the Breda River and at Witstrand. And best of all, it is within the top 20 best run municipalities in South Africa. So all of those things, you know, I might tell you this and it might not sink in immediately, but if you go and think about it, these are the small things that you should be thinking about when you buy any property as an investment. Even if you buy property for your own use, these are the things that you must seriously consider as part of that sound investment. So a municipality is crucially important infrastructure. All right, so Bredezicht. Why Bredezicht estate? So it's a full title gated estate, a low density development. There's only 120 lots, which more than half of them have already been sold. Most of them have already been constructed. I think there are a few stands still available and a few completed projects or ones that are in process, but Anthea Leclerc will be able to tell you exactly more detail, the low monthly levies, the aesthetic value. There are, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 different architectural designs that you can actually choose from should you decide to build your holiday coastal property there. It is pet friendly and they do allow short-term rentals. They have been doing so for the past couple of years since they've started with Bredezicht, and it's just become the more and more popular. And it's the only estate of its kind in Witstrand, actually. So Witstrand is not a big town. There's not thousands of people living there. It's a very intense, small, little, beautiful town. And Bredezicht estate is the only one of its kind actually in Witstrand. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our webinar. So Bredezicht has kindly offered a 2-night self-catering accommodation, complimentary accommodation in Bredezicht estate, where you will be hosted there. For those of you who are interested in seriously going to have a look at Witstrand, going to have a look at Bredezicht, going to have a look at the surroundings, take your fishing rods, take your kite surfing, hire some equipment from the guys that are there, you know, but go and experience it, go and see it for yourself. You will not be able to make this decision over the internet, through images, through videos, or anything like that. You would have to go there, speak to the locals, spend a night or two there, experience the full thing. You will fall in love with Bredezicht estate. So thank you very much, Bredezicht estate, offering it to the webinar attendees. But the link is in the chat box. You guys are welcome to click on the link to inquire about this 2-night self-catering accommodation opportunity in Bredezicht. But ladies and gentlemen, from me, thank you very much. Please stay tuned for our last video from our sponsor. And I hope you've enjoyed the webinar and I hope that it was insightful. And if there's any questions, please feel free to post it to us in the link and we will be happy to answer it for you. Thank you, gentlemen, and have a great evening. Goodbye.